Hello there and welcome into this energy astrology update for the second half of April 2024. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the increase of the sun's solar energy, as well as this increasing intensity of the astrology. We're not done yet with April, and it really is coming in to pack a wallop to support us in our healing, initiation, awakening journey. So I hope that I can weave everything, or as much as I can, it's not going to be everything, to best support you and your journey through this April. How you can meet these energies and ride the waves rather than getting pulled under by them. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Chrissy Whistler. I am an intuitive, an evolutionary astrologer, and I'm also the parent of two very unique cosmic children. If you are needing support right now, if you want to understand why the experiences that are happening to you are happening, then I highly recommend an astrology birth chart reading. And so we can go in and see why your soul is calling these particular experiences and people to you in order to help you grow and to evolve. I do offer short 30-minute readings as well as deep in-dive 90-minute readings, and pairing in as well quantum healing sessions to support you wherever it is you need it. And if you want to find out more, you can go to my website at chrissywhistler.com, or you can find more in the description below. And please like this video. Give it that thumbs up, subscribe to it. If you find this helpful, please share it with your friends. It really does help me to connect with more people like you and to get this message and these words out there. So please know that I really appreciate you for being here, and thank you so much for being here at this intense, crazy moment in time that we are all surfing these waves together. All right, so we have a lot to cover. As I said, I'm not going to be getting everything, so please excuse any lapses. I am going to do my very best to sort of break down some of the energies that have been happening since this Aries total solar eclipse and this continued portal, this birth canal that we are moving through, especially with 2024. Okay, so I do have my notes. There's quite a bit of them, so that's why I'm going to be looking down. So, all right, so the solar energy space weather update. We have had a period of relative quiet when it comes to our sun, and that's because the very active sunspots that were releasing a lot of those solar flares, they were not Earth facing, so they were behind the sun that we couldn't see. They're still doing their thing, we just couldn't see them. So relatively quiet when it comes to the solar impact on our Earth. But that is changing, and I've got big motorcycles going around, gardeners over there, so I'm just going to do my very best to share. So please excuse any of the noises. I'm not in nature. I am right here in the middle of Los Angeles. We will be heading out again, this time to Yosemite National Park, to really ground in some of those Uranus-Jupiter conjunction energies. But for right now, I'm here. So, all right. As I said, the sun has been relatively quiet. It's now starting to ramp up. We have a lot of sunspots that are now turning the limb of the sun, and they're Earth facing. So we're going to be having about a week and a half of those groupings of sunspots facing us. And one of those groupings is the one that released that created the strongest geomagnetic storm that we've had in 7 years. So it survived its trip around the backside of the sun. We will see how it develops. Maybe it's going to grow even more. We don't know. This does have the potential, these sunspots, to create another Carrington-like event. The Carrington event happened in 1859, I believe, and it was so strong, the flares and the storming, that it melted telegraph wires, and it was down for months in certain places of the Americas. So we'll see. We will see what happens with these. Now, what's interesting though is the timing of these sunspots coming back into Earth focus is the same timing as this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction coming up on the 20th, 21st, and that conjunction is going to be in Taurus. And Taurus, of course, is the Earth. So I've talked a lot about that in previous videos, but just kind of, again, this correlation, this noticing of, there's that timing. Let's see what happens with it. What else I want to say is, okay, yeah. So also to say as well is that on April 15th, our sun started to kind of wake up after that little sleepy time that we've had. And we ended up having 8 M-class flares in that 24-hour period. And if you are someone who is very solar sensitive, you might have been feeling that. We also had a geomagnetic storm, a CME, a coronal mass ejection, came in a few days later than expected. And we went into a minor geostorm, which was a KP5 on that index scale. And that was for about 6 hours. So I'm bringing this in is because I actually did have some very intense energy coming through on the 15th. I wrote this down somewhere. Let me double check. Oh, it's somewhere in my notes. You should see my notes. They're all over the place. Sunday, April 14th, and then on Monday the 15th. So I was experiencing massive head pressure, sharp pain in my third eye. My crown just lit up a lot in my throat. I could really feel like this throat clearing activation. And heart. It started as like heart palpitations, but then it became this like just sort of bright, just constant clearing. It felt like my heart was actually like a sun, like a star, and it was just doing that level of clearing. And it's just really interesting again, is because that was just before we had this increase of solar activity after a very low period of quiet. And we are in that solar maximum cycle. So the sun is going to be ramping up, but we were in that low period and then suddenly it went back up. And I really do believe my body was picking that up and clearing those energies. So if you've noticed that around those dates, it's really interesting. My throat started to get really constricted right there. So still clearing this throat energy. If you had kind of experiences around those dates, please let me know in the comments below, let others know. So again, there's this correlation and this noticing of like, oh yeah, I really got hit with energies and I had to go lay down because it was so intense, so disconnected from like body and vertigo and dizziness. So let us know if you've had those kind of experiences. I also want to bring in as well, I'm speaking about this clearing and this healing of these different areas, is on April 15th, Mercury is retrograde right now. And on the 15th, it was conjoined with Chiron. So here comes in again this healing energy. And Mercury is not done. Mercury is going to continue to retrograde back over all this eclipse energy that we just had on the 8th. It's going to go back and then it's going to go forward again. So there is this deep time of clarity coming through, this review and reflection, necessary healing, and then it's like, what is the way forward? So that's the cycle that we're really in and playing with right now. So it's just interesting when you start to look at the different patterns and you're like, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Look how they connect together, and seeing it from that higher vantage point, which is what we are all being encouraged to do with this upcoming astrology. And I'm going to continue to get into that. Okay, so Aries solar eclipse. I'm really curious to know, what were your experiences on that April 8th? Did you find that you had some clearing of your own, where it was this sudden, beautiful, like opening some energy that you've been working on for a while, and it just came right into place. And it's just like, wow, that was really easy. That was really beautiful. And it's just this joy of it. That was a bit of my experience, like it coming in out of nowhere, this issue around really like worth and value. And it was like puzzle pieces totally clicked into place. And I know other people had, experiences of actually getting sick, and their body was physically purging and clearing some really old, intense energy. You might have experienced headaches. Again, there's this clearing of stuck energy. That could have been you. So yeah, I would love to know, what was your experience? What was that like for you? I was at the Grand Canyon during this eclipse, and I will be posting videos from that trip and my experiences. So look for those in the future at some point, in between the next camping trip that I have. But I was really holding space for just the United States. I was tuning into a U.S. mass meditation during that time. There was a lot that was coming through. I was doing a lot of releasing and clearing, a lot of witnessing. We here in the U.S. are also in the middle of our Pluto return. So I was really feeling this revolutionary energy and what are those values of the United States? The ones written down in our Declaration of Independence and in our Constitution. So that's a bit what I was feeling and picking up without going deep into the details. My children, very interesting. They were fine during the eclipse, but then I noticed several hours after, like they just turned into like these hot potatoes with each other. Very, like, it was like oil and water. They couldn't get along. They couldn't find their way. They couldn't communicate or negotiate. And it was like I had to step in and had to have a separation, which is interesting because this is also deeply mirroring our nodes being in Aries and Libra right now for the moon. And I had to separate, and I had to be like, Eric, we're going on a walk right now. And it was that walk, grounding into the earth. He was actually even barefoot at the time because he wasn't going to get his shoes on. So we just went walking around this campground to ground him. And that helped. But what really shifted things was when it started to snow. That's right. It started to snow, hail. It was kind of in between the two. Thankfully, it was very light and it did not stick. But I was like, okay, Mother Nature. Talk about a pattern interrupt. And I think there's going to be, it feels like there's some correlation with this that will be coming through, is that potential for Mother Nature, for the earth herself, to be that pattern interrupt, to get us out of these stuck cycles and patterns that we might be in, to course correct. And who are we really? And can we align to that? Can we step into that? So we'll see what happens, but that's just kind of what I was noticing from the signs and the messages around me and my children coming through. So if you have kids, I'd be curious to see how they handled the eclipse as well. Were they in this energy of joy and excitement, or were they not? Okay, so I'm just looking down on my list here. So yes, a lot of clarity. And I was also hearing as well that trauma has been one of those hot button topics. Not in a bad way, but in this, people can be recognizing it and they can be discussing it and speaking it. And this reflects back to that Mercury being retrograde right now and going back over that Chiron. Where have we been wounded? Where is our trauma? And witnessing, acknowledging, sharing that. So If that's been some of your experience, keep going, keep sharing however that's going to work best for you. And if you notice that from other people, like really holding that space of compassion and listening can be very, very helpful right now. Okay, I've already talked about that one, so I'm going to move on. So I mentioned the separation. You know, I had to separate my children in order for them to kind of like get their heads back on order and their energy like back to center. This healing through separation, especially with people, with relationships, that's going to be continuing throughout 2024. That is the themes of this Aries Libra, but especially again with Chiron being in Aries. So we are healing through separation. Where have we overgiven ourselves to the other person? Reconnecting back to our will to live, to our excitement, our drive, our life force, all that spark, even if we don't know what that is. So there can be right now this wandering experience, meandering. You don't know what your life spark is. You don't know your purpose and your reason for being here. What is your calling? So allow yourself this time to wander. The clarity is going to be coming through. It just may not be right now, especially at this midpoint of April. We have Mercury, that retrograde, really helping us to bring in this clarity, as well as the Jupiter-Uranus new cycle that's starting on that April 20th, 21st, depending where you live in the world. So let's go into that. Now, this is going to be at 21 degrees of Taurus, so you can see where that falls in your chart and know that there is this new cycle that is starting for you that will look different and unique for you based on your birth chart. But it's something we all will be experiencing. And it has to do with perspective. So, Jupiter is this topographical map. Jupiter is being on top of that mountain and being able to see all the valleys below it. It has to do with philosophy and again, this perspective, belief. It has to do with religion. And then you're just kind of like, it's this, again, this ontology. What is our orientation to life? Why am I here? Why are you here? What is this purpose for being on this planet? These are some of those, again, these philosophical questions that Jupiter explores and wants to see and to understand. And then there's Uranus, and Uranus goes even higher. Uranus is the higher mind. Uranus can see your little mountaintop, but then it also sees the whole mountain range, or all the mountains on Earth itself. And Uranus is that networking, the connecting of those mountain ranges together. So let me just tune in to see if there's something else to bring through around this. Jupiter also has to do with our right brain. This is our intuition. Knowing what you know just because you know it. It drops from on high. And Uranus as well, again, being that higher mind, you can be receiving downloads from the future itself. So this, again, this perspective is what we are looking at and playing with right now and opening us up, this new perspective, this next 14 years. There's a lot around these energies. I'm probably barely doing it justice because there is so much involved. This is an opportunity to bring in more clarity that is paradigm shifting Uranus. Multi-dimensional layers, future understanding. This is very revolutionary. And with this Mercury retrograde, is we're just starting to see it. But again, this is a 14-year cycle. We also have Pluto, again, beginning this, not quite done yet, but this dance into Aquarius, this which is ruled by Uranus. So this is the beginning, this is the seed, and we're not going to have any clue what's at the end of that, because it's going to be so glass shattering, that ceiling, that glass ceiling, it's not going to be there anymore. So just again, that meandering, you don't know, it's totally okay that you don't know. And just be open and aware that not knowing. And even if you like, oh yeah, this is this direction, I'm going to go over here, that's probably going to change. Or it's probably going to look so different. Like you're like, when you look back in time, you're like, I couldn't even imagine that if I tried. Because it is so groundbreaking. All right, so what else do I want to say about this? Let me see here. All right, so in addition, this Jupiter-Uranus, again, very revolutionary. This is in Taurus, so Taurus has to do with the earth. So don't be surprised if we have some more earthquakes or volcanoes, physically on our planet, but also it can happen politically. It can happen in our systems and our structures right now. Pluto's not done with Capricorn. Pluto will be going back into Capricorn in September. So yeah, more eruptions, more changes. There is this meltdown in order to break through, to make things better. There is this energy right now, especially when we have the asteroid Lucifer conjoining that Jupiter, Uranus, and Taurus. Like, this is divine discontent. This is shining a light on areas that we need to see because it's not fucking working. And it's like Uranus is coming in with Jupiter expanding this energy to be like, yeah, this thing right here, this is pretty shitty. How can we make it better? And how that better, it's like that insight, that intuitive knowing can just drop down from on high, again, from that future itself. And it's like, oh, this thing, this is where I need to go. This is how I'm going to try and experiment and see what happens. This is also having to do with grounding it, making whatever these dreams are. The last time Jupiter-Uranus conjoined was in Pisces. That has to do with dreams and fantasy. What is illusion? So we're taking those dreams and now we're making them real. Taurus. This is the time to manifest it. And we also have Saturn, who's right now in Pisces, helping us, slowing us down in order to get it right, in order to make these dreams real and put them here on this earth. Because that's where we're living in our human bodies, is on earth, not floating away in the ethers, right here. So, how can we bring those downloads and ground them into earth, make them real? Now, what else is helping us with this? Again, major revolutionary energy, shifting in consciousness, breaking through. We have this conjunction between the two planets, is trine to Black Moon Lilith, who is in Virgo with the moon, and also another trine to Ceres in Capricorn. So we have this grand earth trine. So again, here is this Black Moon and Lilith energy of where have we been wounded? Where have we given ourselves so far away, humbled ourselves so much that there's nothing been left over? So we're doing a lot of deep healing around this. This stepping back into ourselves, having us matter, our own nurturing, our own care, and how might that be missing in society right now. Ceres in Capricorn, she's also squaring the moon's nodes. So it's this dance between, in general, that we're playing with is, yes, caring for me, myself as an individual, yourself as an individual. And how can we still make space for the other person, the other people in our lives, our groups, our community, our culture, our countries, but doing so in a way that is not self-sacrificing our spark, our will to live for the other person. So all that theme is continuing and being very supported by this astrology. Okay. Interesting too is this conjunction is a sesquiquadrate to Ixion in Capricorn. And Ixion, who's right now retrograde, is asking us, are the rules of society that we're playing by the right rules? Or do they need to change? Ixion is a seeker consciousness. It's aligning to our independent, authentic voice in society. Pluto came through when it went through Capricorn and really started tearing things down, right? Melting down reactionary chamber of the shit that's not working. And then Ixion and some of those other dwarf planets are coming behind him and filling that up with these new, again, shifting of consciousness. So it's really beautiful, very supported. We also have Sedna, who's at 29 degrees. So she's a little bit wide, but she has to do with our spiritual destiny. So it's just very interesting that we have that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, and Sedna's not too far behind. She will be entering Gemini and staying there very soon. So anyway, what else to say about this? Okay. Curious as well. So I was talking about dreams and making those dreams real. Now on April 21st, we have our blue magnetic night in the galactic Mayan calendar. And that's going to be starting this new Wavespell for 13 days. And blue night has to do with dreaming. How do you dream? And then how do you make that abundance real and magnetic, right? Like this is drawing those dreams to us. So how curious, just the alignment of these energies. Let me just make sure I can get this right. So we have that 21st, that 13-day cycle. And then on April 29th, Mars is going to be conjoining Neptune in Pisces. And this is the last time these two will be together in Pisces for our lifetimes. Neptune has to do with dreams. What is fantasy? What is illusion? And then Mars is coming in and it's like this real taking action towards our dreams. And even, I'm hearing this word discernment, discerning what are fantasies and what are the dreams that are actually meant to be made real, that are coming from that spark of desire in our soul to make it happen. Our purpose, our calling for being here, being guided by that Uranus-Jupiter conjunction as well. So very, very interesting that all these energies are lining up this right way, this right time. And it's also about connecting to the right people, to the right resources. It's realizing, so Mercury is being so helpful right now doing this retrograde. Who are the right people? Are we connecting into a bunch of toxic people that are not actually helpful and supportive for us and our reason for being here? Our spark for life, are they draining us? Or are you continually putting yourself in situations that are the wrong ones for you? Now, that energy will continue to escalate and intensify. That will be bringing us into the Scorpio full moon that we have coming up on the 23rd. But before I move fully in there, to just say as well, like this energy with Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, the Black Moon Lilith, the Ixion aspect that this is all making, Lucifer, this is all very divine discontent, very rule-breaking, rule-pushing kind of energy. So we can definitely be experiencing disruptions and changes coming forward, because Uranus sees through the bullshit. Uranus is that light of truth. Jupiter's expanding it. So, yeah. This pioneering kind of energy is part of it as well. This can have to do with finances, money, values, what we value, all that's Taurus, but also around our beliefs. There's that Jupiter, there's that Taurus energy. And so we can experience some real truths coming to light and some very changing times being ignited right now. And it's not done in one day kind of deal. Whew, you made it through the conjunction, you're all fine. Like, just know that's not how this works. That this is this beginning. This is this initiation into Pluto being an Aquarius, into this Aquarian age. But it's like we're doing this cleanup, especially if you are someone who is awake and aware, if you are trying to know thyself and looking at your shadow, looking at your unconscious. Like, it feels like those of us who said yes to that part of the journey, we're going in deep with this healing, clearing, cleansing, all that Chiron stuff. Like, we are paving the way, holding this foundation for almost what's going to be coming later, to maybe more on the 3D and the people around us. So we can hold the fort, so to speak, while everyone else is having their own personal meltdowns, their own personal transformations, because we're like, yeah, we've been there. I can see you and I can hold that space for you while you are going through that. That's what I'm really picking up on, the energetics and my own experiences, almost this pre-waving of what others can be going through later. So we'll see what continues to happen. But definitely this truth coming to light, really stepping into this paradox of everything we thought we knew, we no longer know. Like, that's what this can be. Okay, let me just check and see. Okay, knowing when to separate, when to stand up, when to fight, to go against that grain, and when to actually connect with people and to innovate, when to step in and help nurture someone and their own experiences. So there's that Aries energy that I was bringing through earlier. When do we innovate? We are really being initiated into these sacred warriors and sacred sentinels right now, but there can be this, again, this reviewing of these past wounds and going into those first in a very intense way, which is that Pluto Scorpio. Okay. So, Pluto Scorpio. We have the Scorpio full moon on April 23rd, and that's going to be at 4 degrees Scorpio, which is going to also be conjunct the dwarf planet Hemia. Then on the 25th, we have Mercury stationing direct. So here's going to be a lot of clarity coming through. So very intense times. I'll get back more into the Scorpio full moon in just a minute, but it's like very intense full moon. And then on this 25th, like, clarity is going to really start coming through. especially around our wounds around May 6th, because Chiron and Mercury will be conjunct again. Mercury will be moving forward. All right, so back to the full moon. So in evolutionary astrology, we always look to where the ruler of those planets are in the zodiac sign. In this case, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto is at 2 degrees of Aquarius. Pluto will be stationing retrograde on May 2nd. So that's going to be a real expanding of Pluto's energy, more so than normal. Pluto is also squaring that full moon. So forming a T-square between the moon, Pluto, the sun. So very intense astrology. Okay, there's also a sextile to Ixion. Again, that seeker consciousness. Are the rules of society and structures, Capricorn, that we're playing by the right rules? Or do we need to innovate? Do we need to experiment and try things differently? That's Pluto in Aquarius. So I don't expect this to be an easy time. I expect this to be quite uncomfortable, quite intense. To see into those shadows that we do not want to look at. Those things that we ourselves are unconscious, like we are running from, and at the same time our soul is continuing to draw those to us in order to heal. So, shining a light in places we don't want to look for ourselves, but also again for that society as well. This can feel like we are reconnecting parts of ourselves that have been frozen for a very long time, including our emotions. And there is this reconnecting to our courage, the courage to be ourselves, to go your unique direction, even if that requires you to walk it alone. As I said, this really is this deep initiation into us being sacred warriors. And those souls, like if there's a kid being born like right now, right at this time, that is one intense, powerful soul, just because of how these astrologies are landing. So this is this journey of these pioneering, powerful souls that many of us are. If you came in to have big changes within yourself, your psyche, your unconscious, you can potentially really be experiencing those right now. And what happens is when we don't listen, when we just kind of like, no, I'm not going to look. I'm just going to keep sweeping it under the rug, right? That is when we can have these cataclysmic moments of forced change. And that's when you can have that experience of the rug getting ripped out from under you. Implosions, explosions, like that kind of thing can happen when we don't listen to these evolutionary directions and guides that our soul is like telling us, like, you need to learn this. You need to learn this. Hey, you're not listening. I'm now going to set the house on fire. Like, that's kind of what I'm talking about here. So be really mindful of what is calling to you right now. And that observer effect, to step back from the drama, from the intensity, and can you see from this more observation, objective viewpoint, why is this happening? Why do I keep having these people in my life who use me, who don't see my self-worth? Maybe I should look at myself. Do I actually see my worth and my value? Is that why the people that are coming are reflecting that I don't have value? I'm just using this as an example just to help you ground with some of what I'm talking about here. So look to see in your life where that can be coming up. And this would be really helpful as well if you need guidance. This is when a birth chart reading can really come in and help you to understand why you're having these experiences repeatedly again and again and again. So, back to this full moon in Scorpio. High intensity times can be very claustrophobic. This being in the frying pan of experiences, full spectrum, everything is on the table. Drama, the unconscious again being highlighted, shining lights in these dark places we don't want to look at. So what else you can do? Embody Taurus medicine. Slow it down. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to digest, maybe journal, maybe meditate, going on a walk by yourself, the experiences that you are having. We can also be experiencing a lot of conflict around this time. And again, that has to do, especially with the mirror of the other, South Node in Libra. And we have these relationships with other people. They're coming in to help us, to help our souls catalyze this growth and change. If there's one thing Pluto in Scorpio hates, it's when things get stagnant and stale. It's this energy that always wants metamorphosis, change, and transformation. So you can be having those conflicts. Also remember to step back and to digest what those conflicts are here to teach you and to show you. This is this work of Pluto to really help us to face our fears, our doubts, what we want to stay hidden from, and then the why behind all of that. So really hold a lot of compassion and forgiveness for yourself right now and for other people around you, because we have no idea what they are going through. And just like recognizing, yeah, this is a really fucking intense time. I don't know your story, but I see you and I can see that you're struggling. And again, just that heart space and that compassion. And of course, this is that you stand up when you see something that's wrong or hurtful or harmful to somebody else. So there is that balance of when you stay in compassion, when do you stand up and step into your courage and initiate yourself being that sacred warrior. We are also, just to start to wrap this up a little bit, this is also a journey of recognizing our self-worth. This really laying claim to who we are, caring and nurturing for ourselves and also other people, but not losing ourselves into the other person. So April, very intense. Like, I mean, you just can't make up this astrology. It is what it is. But as we leave April and head into May, there's going to be a lot more stabilizing of this energy, settling in, grounding. Venus will be entering into her own sign of Taurus, so that's really going to help with that. And then we have Mars going to be entering Aries. So it's this grounding, stabilizing energy, and then Mars is going to be coming in with, here are the action steps to initiate our unique individual direction. And with Mercury going direct with that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, we will have the clarity more and more, maybe not the whole picture. I'd be really surprised if anybody has the whole picture. But we'll have enough clarity of, okay, that is the road that I'm meant to be on. I'm now going to be hitting that pedal and getting that gas going in that car. So, as I said, this is so much, and I feel like I've barely touched on the depth, but please know that it's here. Like, there's so much that we are weaving with that's really going to be supporting us, putting these groundworks and these foundations in place for what's going to be coming for the second half of 2024 and then even into 2025, 2026. Like, we're really building into something amazing and new and different, but it's first this. We have to be on that ground floor, creating that foundation, cleaning out the crap that we don't want to look at, that we don't want to see. And here's that full moon in Scorpio with Pluto going to be going retrograde, helping us to see what needs to be seen, as well as that Uranus-Jupiter. So this is a lot. I really do hope this was helpful. Please leave a comment. Let me know, what have your experiences been? Are you picking up on some of this? Or is it different? Because we're each having our own different experiences, and what I am saying is not the one and only way of it being, or even the only way of interpreting the astrology. So let me know, what is your experience? How are you doing? If you are needing support, again, birth chart reading, or if you want to really go in deep to these unconscious areas that you don't want to look at, then these quantum healing sessions can be so helpful and supportive in a real gentle way as well. So again, you can find out more at my website. Please like this video as always. Share this with your friends if it helps. I truly hope it does. So I will be with you all in Yosemite, holding the fort, holding the energy and the groundwork there with my children. I have no doubt that you will be doing the same wherever you are, whether you're in your home, in your apartment buildings, or you are in the middle of nature with nobody around you. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.